The night lay heavy and still, broken only by the restless movement of wind through the treetops. Mist crept low between the trunks, thickening the air into something cold and suffocating. In this silence, a single voice cut clean and merciless through the dark. The Gu family stands accused of involvement in Prince Ling's rebellion. By imperial order, they're to be investigated. Any who resist will be killed without mercy. Wang sat in his wheelchair at the center of the scene, his expression unmoved, his authority absolute. Soldiers dragged Gujui forward through the torchlight. He fought them every step, thrashing, screaming, calling out into the indifferent dark for help that would not come. When his eyes finally found Wang, they burned with something beyond rage. It was the look of a man watching a nightmare he had always feared finally arrive. Vonker. His voice cracked under the weight of fury. You claim my family conspired with Prince Ling. Where's your proof? We both know what this really is. You are jealous of what we have built, and you are using this chaos to plunder it. Wang regarded him without moving. Then, slowly, he allowed himself a thin, cold smile. Proof, he repeated, as though the word amused him. Prince Ling has raised a rebellion. The entire country is fracturing. Fan San, a military governor, has declared himself king. In times like these, powerful families act according to the moment. The Wang family is simply doing the same. He leaned forward in his chair and lifted Gujui's chin with 2 fingers, the gesture deliberate and humiliating. Let me be honest with you. If you had not broken my leg all those years ago, perhaps none of this would have fallen on your family today. His voice dropped to something almost intimate. You were a notorious wastrel once. Now look at you, a stray dog at my feet. How does it feel, Gujui? He released him with a contemptuous flick of his wrist and straightened. One person's crimes, one person's consequence. His voice rose sharp and final. The Gu family has defied the imperial edict. Execute them all on the spot. Gujui's mouth moved. Over and over, the same 2 words, barely audible through his broken gasping. Save me. Save me. Lu Yuru jolted awake. She sat upright in the darkness, chest heaving, the name already on her lips before she was fully conscious. Gujui. Her maid Inhong appeared in the doorway almost immediately, drawn by the sound of movement. Young miss, were you having a nightmare? Yuru sat on the edge of the bed and pressed both hands to her face. The images were already blurring at the edges. The mist, the soldiers. Gujui's face twisted in desperation, but the feeling of them remained, lodged somewhere beneath her ribs. It was just a dream, she said, mostly to herself. Help me get ready. As Inhong worked on her hair and makeup, Yuru stared at her own reflection without seeing it. Her thoughts kept circling back, unable to settle. Gujui. Why would I dream of Gujui? The Gu family's young master was one of the most talked-about figures in Yongzhou, infamous for his careless habits, his sharp tongue, and his spectacular indifference to propriety. He and Yuru inhabited entirely different worlds. She was the legitimate but overlooked daughter of a small cloth merchant family, a girl who had spent her entire life making herself useful and unobtrusive. He was the heir to one of the city's great fortunes, a man who caused scenes at parties and had servants chasing him down the street. There is no reason, she told herself firmly, for me to dream of him. A light knock, and a maidservant slipped inside. Young miss, the old madam, ye has arrived. The madam is asking for you. Yuru glanced up. Tell my father I'll be there shortly. She turned back to the mirror and gave herself a long, quiet look. Get a hold of yourself, Lu Yuru. You have one important thing ahead of you, and it has nothing to do with Gujui. Marrying Yi Sharon. That was the goal. That had always been the goal. Her father lavished attention on his concubine and paid little mind to her mother, who had been unwell for as long as Yuru could remember. Growing up watching that particular brand of household injustice had sharpened Yuru's understanding of one fundamental truth. A woman's position in this world was determined almost entirely by who she married. It was not a romantic conclusion, but it was an honest one. So she had been careful. She had been patient. She had spent 7 or 8 years cultivating a quiet friendship with the eldest Yi daughter, Yun, visiting regularly, attending to old Madam Yi with gentle consistency. She had shaped herself into exactly the kind of young woman of family like the Yi family would want. Yi Sharon was serious and reserved, not a man given to charm or warmth. But he was dependable, intellectually gifted, and likely to secure a distinguished position. A good match, if not a romantic one. Today must be about the marriage, she thought as she rose and smoothed her skirts. The old madam has been hinting for weeks. The old madam's receiving room was warm and well lit, and several people had already gathered by the time Yuru arrived. She noticed Madame Genie among them before she reached the doorway, and quietly steadied herself before stepping inside. She bowed with careful grace. "Greetings, old Madame Yi." The old woman smiled at her with genuine affection and gestured her closer. "Come, Yuru, sit near me. You are the most well-mannered girl I have ever had the pleasure of knowing." Yuru's father, Lucian, wasted no time once she was seated. "Yuru, old Madam Yi has come today to discuss your marriage to the eldest young master. What do you think?" Yuru lowered her gaze and smiled shyly. "Yuru will follow her parents' wishes." Lucian nodded and moved swiftly to the practical matter. "It is settled then, in principle. However, the eldest young master is currently sitting for the provincial examinations. We do not know when he will return to formally propose. And I've heard that the Gu family's young master has also reached marrying age. His mother has apparently been seeking prospects. If they were to approach us before the Yi family could formalize things." He paused meaningfully. "A long night carries many complications, old madam. We must not delay." Madame Genie agreed at once. "There is no need to wait for the eldest young master's return. Why not have a Yi family representative come to make the formal proposal? It would spare everyone unnecessary anxiety." The old madam closed her eyes and shook her head slowly. "I'm afraid that won't be so simple. My son went to congratulate a friend who was recently appointed as military governor of Yuzhou. He has not yet returned." Something shifted in Yuru's chest. Her voice came out before she could stop it. "Is his surname Fan?" The room went quiet. Old Madam Yi turned to look at her with a startled expression. "Yuru, how did you know that?" Yuru composed herself carefully. "I happened to overhear the name mentioned during tea with my sisters the other day. I wasn't certain it was true. A position like military governor changed so suddenly. It seemed unlikely." The old madam's expression relaxed into something thoughtful. "You're right to have been skeptical. But Fanson has served in Yuzhou for 13 years. His roots there run very deep. When the previous governor died and recommended him in his final days, the appointment followed. Life takes unexpected turns." She paused. "So we must wait until the eldest young master completes his examinations before the formal proposal can proceed." The meeting concluded, and Yuru returned to her own rooms with a polite smile still on her face and her thoughts churning quietly underneath it. She sat in the study with a brush in her hand and a sheet of calligraphy in front of her, but the strokes came out distracted and uneven. The military governor of Yuzhou. Fansan Prince Ling's rebellion. Gujui. In her dream, she had heard his voice, raw and desperate, calling her name. "Lu Yuru, save me." And now the new military governor was indeed named Fanson. She set the brush down. Was it coincidence? Or something else entirely? Inhong entered carrying an armful of fresh-cut branches, her expression bright with cheerful determination. "The garden is absolutely full of color today. I brought some branches to brighten the room. Good luck for your upcoming engagement, young miss. May it be fragrant and sweet all the way to fruition." Yuru smiled. "I hope so." Inhong began arranging the stems in a vase, chattering as she worked. "Oh, young miss, I heard something while I was in the garden. The maids near Concubine Zhang's courtyard were talking. Apparently, the Gu family's madam visited the Lu residence a few days ago. Nobody knows quite why, but people are speculating it might have been about a match." Yuru's hands stilled in her lap. "The Lu family." Inhong continued, oblivious. "Every girl in Yongzhou with any sense gives the Gu boy a wide berth. Whoever ends up married to him would have quite the life ahead of her. A name surfaced in Yuru's mind immediately. Yui. She was on her feet before she had fully decided to move. In Hong, go to the madam right now and tell her I need to visit the Lu residence. Today, she said to herself, quietly and with certainty. If that dream was a warning, Yui cannot be allowed to marry Gujui. Zhao Chong had been promising Gujui answers all day, which was, as it turned out, a very effective method of making Gujui lose his mind. You'll understand when we get there, Zhao Chong kept saying, placidly, as if this were a completely reasonable thing to keep saying while leading a man into a stranger's rear courtyard under cover of darkness. Gujui grabbed him by the collar. Zhao Chong, we have snuck into someone's private residence. You said you would explain when we got here. We are here. Chun Sun turned around with great serenity and placed a finger to his lips. Gujui's grip tightened. I'm about to cause both of you considerable physical harm. Zhao Chong managed to extract himself enough to explain. We brought you to meet your wife. A long silence. My wife, Gujui repeated. Your parents visited the Lu residence a few days ago, Zhao Chong said. You didn't know? Gujui released him, stared at both of them with a look that contained multitudes, and turned to walk away. Chun Sun stepped quickly into his path. At least look at her before you go. Since we're already here, Zhao Chong added helpfully. Just confirm what she looks like. Gujui paused. Even if she looked like someone descended from the heavens, he said flatly, it wouldn't matter. At which point a voice drifted over from somewhere nearby, clear and unhurried. What exactly did you come to see? And what happened to your eyes? They're terribly swollen. The three of them froze and pressed themselves back into the shadow of the wall. In the garden, Lu Siswa was not having a good day. She was crying in the thorough, helpless way of someone who has been trying not to cry for a long time and has finally given up. Lu Yuru sat beside her, one hand resting gently over hers. The Gu family's parents came 2 days ago, Siswa said between sobs. They called me into the hall, looked me over, said a few kind things, gave me a jade bracelet, and then told me to leave. I still don't know exactly what it means. But my parents think the Gu family wants to discuss a match. Yuru kept her voice gentle. What are you afraid of? Sishua's tears came faster. My father would agree for the money alone, and then I'd have to marry Gujui. How would I survive that? Yuru patted her hand. I understand completely. If someone told me I had to marry him, I would walk directly into the lake. From behind the garden wall, Gujui heard every word. His jaw tightened. His fist closed slowly at his side. Jump into a lake. He turned that over in his mind. She said she would jump into a lake rather than marry me. Zhao Chong, watching his expression, murmured, the crying one is apparently meant to be your wife. Chun Sun observed the other figure more carefully. The other one, that must be Lu Yuru, the legitimate daughter of the Lu family. The one people say was always looked over. Yuru, meanwhile, had taken Sishua's hand with a more purposeful expression. Here is what we are going to do, she said, her voice quiet and precise. We find out what he hates most. Then we make sure you embody every single one of those things. Siswa blinked. What do you mean? From what I know, Gujui has never married partly because his standards are particular. He cannot stand rule-following noble women who quote the classics at him. So, go home and memorize the 4 books and 5 classics. When you see him next, lecture him on proper conduct. At length, Gujui, from behind the wall, let out a slow, involuntary breath of amusement. Zhao Chong leaned toward Chun Sun and murmured, this girl is something. Yuru continued. He also despises affected women who approach him with deliberate fragility. So when you speak to him, keep your voice very soft. If he says anything sharp, cry immediately. Do not speak with logic or clarity. Ask him for money at every opportunity. She paused to think. I also believe he has a particular sensitivity to heavy floral scents. I will find you a sachet, something overwhelmingly strong. Keep it on your handkerchief and make sure to wave it near him. Zhao Chong clicked his tongue quietly. If she had actually researched you this thoroughly for other purposes, juicy, you would have been in serious trouble. Chun Sun nodded solemnly. Very serious trouble. Siswa twisted her fingers in her lap. But what if he still wants to marry me, even after all of that? The question, apparently, was the final one. Gujui stepped out from behind the wall. Rest assured, he said pleasantly, I will absolutely not marry you. The two women spun around. Siswa grabbed the hem of Yuru's sleeve with both hands, her voice a high whisper. Who are you? Which servant is this? Why are you in the rear courtyard? Yuru said nothing. She simply looked at him. Gujui, she thought, with the particular stillness of someone rapidly assessing a situation. If it gets out that Gujui was found in the Liu family's rear courtyard, the person whose reputation suffers most will be Siswa. Gujui returned her gaze with complete self-possession. I am obviously no servant. What servant would have the nerve to walk into a young lady's private courtyard like this? Yuru's voice, when she found it, was composed and cold as winter stone. Someone drag him out and throw him off the property. Gujui's confident expression flickered for just a moment. A large manservant appeared, gripped him by the collar, and growled something unpleasant. Chun-sun immediately began protesting their innocence at considerable volume. Gujui, demonstrating the better part of valor, grabbed his friends by the arms. Why are you still standing there? Run. Outside the Liu residence, the three of them leaned against a wall in various states of dishevelment, catching their breath. Zhao Chong straightened his robes. That girl didn't hesitate for even a moment. Didn't say a word, just called for the servants. Nearly got us killed. Gujui glanced sideways at nothing in particular. She wasn't frightened. She was protecting Sishua's name. She knew exactly what she was doing. He turned it over in his mind. Liu Yuru, a girl with an ordinary family and an unremarkable face and a personality that everyone described as careful and proper. A girl who had apparently been quietly weaving herself into the Yi family's good graces for years, positioning herself to marry Yi Sharon, the promising young scholar under the tutelage of the grand academician Sun. A white lotus, he thought, paired with another white lotus. He smiled slowly. Chun-sun, he said, I want someone to keep an eye on Liu Yuru. Chun-sun stared at him. What? Then understanding crossed his face, and he grabbed Gujui's shoulders. Juicy, are you interested in her? Gujui smacked him on the head. Don't be absurd. Even if every woman in the empire vanished overnight, I would not marry Liu Yuru. Zhao Chong fixed him with a look. Then why the surveillance? Gujui straightened and stared ahead, his expression settling into something lofty and dignified. She made us look like fools today. She is Yi Sharon's intended, and Yi Sharon has been a thorn in my side for years. If we simply let this go, what kind of men are we? He snapped his fan open. She did something to me, so I will do something to her. Make her uncomfortable. Return the favor. He smiled to himself and began walking. Behind him, Zhao Chong and Chun-sun exchanged a glance. Neither of them said anything. Back in her rooms, Yuru sat with her embroidery and felt the complicated weight of the afternoon settle around her. I shouldn't have acted so quickly, she thought, threading the needle with more attention than the task required. Gujui won't marry Siswa. That much is obvious. But now I've drawn his attention directly to myself. I wonder when Yi Sharon will return from his examinations. She told herself the Yi family would be reasonable. Scholars valued manners, and manners were something she had spent a long time perfecting. In Hong came bustling in with an armful of papers, voice bright with news. Young miss, did you hear? Old Master Gu took a cane and chased his son down the street. In broad daylight. Yuru looked up. What happened? The young master apparently announced to anyone who would listen that his marriage is his decision and no one else's. Old Master Gu did not take this well. Yuru closed her eyes briefly and let out a quiet breath that was not quite a laugh. Despite everything, she thought, Gujui is not really so terrible. He causes trouble for everyone around him, but he is, in his own chaotic way, honest. He doesn't deserve what I dreamed for him. Young miss, In Hong said, peering at her expression, you look thoughtful again. Shall we go out? You could do with some air, and we could pick up a few things for your mother's room while we're at it. Yes, Yuru said, setting down her embroidery. Let's do that. The cosmetic shop was cool and fragrant, its shelves stacked with lacquered boxes and silk-wrap sachets. The proprietor was in the middle of extolling the particular virtues of a certain rouge. Excellent quality, very fashionable, admittedly expensive, when Yuru's attention was caught by a small box near the back of the display. She picked it up and examined it quietly. "It really is exceptional," she said. "Sister Yuru." The voice arrived at full volume from outside, preceded only by the swish of a fan. Gujui strolled into the cosmetic shop with Chun-sun and Zhao Chong at his heels as though he bought rouge on a daily basis, which he demonstrably did not. In-hong planted herself between them immediately, frowning with professional indignation. "This is a shop for women. What are you three doing here?" Yuru did not turn around. "In-hong, let's go." Chun-sun blocked the exit with a pleasant smile. "No need to rush, Sister Yuru." Yuru surveyed the room, took stock of her options, and turned to the proprietor with a look of measured concern. "Shopkeeper, is it not rather inconvenient, having male customers in a women's establishment?" The proprietor opened his mouth. Gujui spoke over him. "I will buy everything in this shop." He looked at Yuru with an extravagant wave of his fan. "Take whatever you like, Sister Yuru. Big Brother is feeling generous today." In-hong drew breath to protest. Gujui leaned toward her, voice dropping to something that could not exactly be called cold, but was not warm either. "How am I behaving exactly? Please do tell me." Yuru had been quietly performing her calculations, and she had arrived at a conclusion. She turned to face him, and her expression softened into something gentle and distressed. "Young Master Gu." Her voice was soft, her eyes luminous with the very earliest stage of tears. "I don't know what I or my family may have done to deserve your attention. You and I are from entirely different worlds. If we have offended you in any way, I beg you to forgive us. A man of your standing and character, surely you would not wish to make things difficult for someone like me." Chun-sun felt a sudden pang of conscience and looked at his shoes. Zhao Chong did the same. Gujui watched her with narrowed eyes. "Lu Yuru," he said quietly, "you are an extraordinary actress." Her lip trembled. "Young Master Gu, I beg you." All right, all right." He waved his hand impatiently. But something in his expression had shifted, softened, almost imperceptibly, into something that was not irritation. His gaze grew thoughtful. Then, before anyone could follow what was happening, his tone changed entirely. He smiled at her. It was not the sharp, taunting smile she had seen before. It was something different. "Forgive me, Sister Yuru. The truth is, I like you. It was the moment I saw you. I've thought it over carefully, and I have decided that in this life, I will marry no one but you." The shop went very quiet. Yuru stared at him. "Young Master Gu," she said carefully, "that is not funny." He moved closer. "I'm not joking. You made things difficult for me, I'll grant you that. So consider us even. But my feelings are sincere." She wanted to grab something and throw it. She kept her voice pleasant. "Young Master is extremely kind." She bowed her head slightly. "I must be going." "Didn't you say," he continued, ignoring this, "that you would throw yourself into the lake rather than marry me? I'm proposing to you right now. The moment is here, Sister Yuru. What are you waiting for?" She stepped back. "If you insist on this, young master, perhaps you would prefer I simply find a nearby river and—" "Not necessarily," he said. Then he bent down slightly to meet her eye level, and his voice shifted into something almost sincere, underneath all the theater of it. "You just have to say one thing. That Yi Sharon is a terrible person, not half as handsome, talented, or principled as Gujui." Yuru blinked at him. Then, very deliberately, she said, "Young Master is absolutely correct. Yi Sharon is a terrible person, not half as handsome, talented, or principled as young Master Gu. You are a true gentleman of the highest character. Surely a man like you would not make things difficult for a girl like me." Gujui opened his mouth, then closed it. He covered the moment with a cough. "You're quite smooth," he said finally. "All right, we're going." He turned to leave, then stopped. He was holding a lacquered box, the rouge that had caught Yuru's eye earlier. He placed it in her hand without ceremony. "Take it, and pick a few more while you're here." He glanced at the other women present. "Everyone gets one. On my tab." He leaned close enough to speak quietly. "When you marry Yi Sharon, look after him. He tends to be reckless. Then, before she could respond, he was already halfway to the door, calling to Chun-sun and Zhao Chong without looking back. Yuru stood holding the rouge, staring after him. Outside, Chun-sun fell in a step beside him, brow furrowed. Why the rouge? Gujui turned the fan in his hand. She apologized to me today. Properly. It was unexpected. He was quiet for a moment. I may have taken things too far earlier. She doesn't have it easy. The study at the Gu residence had a high ceiling that did nothing to contain old Master Gulongwa's temper. This ungrateful brat, he said, not for the first time that evening. Does he think I arranged all of this purely to inconvenience him? I did it because his uncle would have had him paraded through the palace for recommendations. If a princess had taken a liking to him, could he have handled that? Madame Jiang Nu placed a gentle hand on his arm. My lord, Gujui has a point. His marriage, arranged without his knowledge and to someone he doesn't like, that rarely ends well. Please don't wear yourself out with anger. A subordinate entered at the threshold and cleared his throat. Old master, madam, we have found her. Both parents turned at the same moment. Found who? The young master's intended. The woman he declared he would marry. Madame Jiang Nu was on her feet. Gujui has someone he wants? The old master was more cautious. How do you know it's not just talk? The subordinate recounted the scene at the cosmetic shop in careful detail. The declaration, the rouge, the quiet comment about Yi Sharon. He said it himself, plainly. This is the woman he will marry. He produced a portrait. The two of them studied it. A young woman, composed and quietly pretty, with an attentive quality to her expression that was not immediately obvious, but lingered after looking. This is Liu Yuru of the Liu family. A Yongzhou native. Conventional background, but a genuinely good upbringing. Principled, capable, well-regarded. Madame Jiang Nu's face brightened steadily as the description continued. And our son likes her. That alone is worth everything. Prepare the betrothal gift list. Tomorrow morning, the old master and I go to propose. Madam, the subordinate hesitated. There is one complication. There is talk, not confirmed, but persistent, that old Madame Yi has already set her sights on the young miss. A match between the two families may already be in the works. Already set, not formally, just rumor.